In my last video, I broke down exactly why most people lose weight, but they don't quite manage to keep it off. And it's not because they're lazy, it's not because they don't have enough willpower, it's simply because they don't have the right system in place. In this video today, I'm going to break down the 6-phased system that I've created across 15 years of coaching. And by the end of this video, you're going to know more than what 99% of people know, and most of them are actually coaches. My name's Anton Danyluk, and I have been a fitness coach now for the last 15 years, running multiple fitness businesses, one of which is actually teaching coaches this specific system to teach to their clients. So no, this is not a fad, this isn't a theory, this is a system that has been put in place across tens of thousands of clients, completely transforming their lives. So let's get into this video. Most people fail because they only really know one step of the system. And interestingly enough, this is actually the 5th phase in my 6-phased system. If you think about that, that's like building the roof of a house before everything else. So we're going to break down each individual phase and why each one leads into the next. If we miss out one phase in this system, the whole thing falls apart, just like that house. Phase number 1, the foundation phase. This lasts 4 weeks. Now, the interesting thing is about a fitness journey is there's only 5 fundamentals: our training, our nutrition, our sleep, our water, and our steps. That's it. We don't need to overcomplicate it, but we do have to solidify these within our first 4 weeks. So what we're going to do within week number 1 is we're going to assess. We're going to see where our sleep, our steps, our training, our nutrition, and our water currently is. There's no point jumping straight to 10,000 steps if you're only on 2,000 per day. That's a massive increase, it's a 5x increase. Water, if you're only drinking half a litre per day, going to 3 litres a day is crazy. With your exercise, if you're not even training, jumping into a full gym plan is madness. Nutrition wise, if you're not counting calories at all, we don't even know where our start point is. How can we even put you onto a certain nutrition plan? And lastly, with your sleep, where's your sleep at just now? Are you aimlessly scrolling at night? You're only sleeping 5 hours? These are the things that we need to assess in week number 1 and see where our starting point is of the journey. So now that we've got this data in week number 1, we have our baseline, we have something to work with. So what we're going to do is focus on improving each of these 5 fundamentals. So with our steps, for example, what we can do in this instant is add on 500 steps per day to what you were doing last week. Same with the water, maybe adding in 500 millilitres or half a litre of water extra per day. Sleep, try and get half an hour extra sleep and then start to build that up to a certain optimal amount. With our training, okay, let's get 1 training day in if you weren't doing any. Let's get 3 in if you were doing 2. Adding in that extra training day and adding some form of structure to your training is going to make that a lot better than what it was the previous week. And with your nutrition, see where you're at, and then let's just start to put some numbers in place that we can focus on hitting going into the following week that are realistic to where you're at. Week number 3, now that we've set some goals in week number 2, we're going to now focus on progressing them. And week number 4, we want to solidify. So at the end of the foundation phase, what we really are looking for here is 20 to 30% above what you were doing with your steps. With your water, trying to hit that number of 30 mils of water per kilogram of body weight. So if you are 100 kilos, about 3 litres is going to be right for you. With your sleep, you should now be in that 7 to 9 hours bracket. And with our training and nutrition, we should now have a structure with that we can follow and take into the momentum phase. So now we move into the momentum phase, building on the foundations. So this is going to be 8 weeks where we just focus on constantly progressing the foundations that were built. We're not switching up training plans, we're not switching up nutrition plans, we're just simply adding to that. So what do I mean by that? We're going to keep the same training and nutrition in place, we're going to keep the same steps in place, but we are going to use different tools within this phase in order to create a deeper deficit. So now if we're looking to lose body fat, we want to be losing around about 1% of our body weight per week. So if we weigh 200 pounds, around about 2 pounds per week is going to be optimal. Now, if we step on the scales after a week and we haven't quite achieved that target, then what we want to do in this instant is adjust our deficit. And the only way to do that is through increasing our activity or decreasing what's coming in, i.e. our food and our calories. So what I would suggest is you always make one adjustment at a time. So with this, I would, if I've not lost my goal target weight that specific week, then I would suggest that we simply add in a little bit of cardio. Then from there, the following week, I'd maybe reduce my calories. Your sleep is in place, your water's in place. Now it's just tweaking the other fundamentals to adjust your deficit in order to make the weight continue to come down. But take this nice and slow, one change at a time, and don't be aggressive with it, otherwise you're going to plateau quite quick. We now move into the accelerate phase, which is 4 weeks. At this point, you're already 12 weeks into your program. And no matter what fitness regime you're following at this point, things are going to get a little bit tough. We're going to be lower in energy, we're going to have more cravings, we're going to have less focus, less motivation, and on top of that as well, we are going to slow down our fat loss. So what we want to do in this phase is we want to keep our training exactly the same, but we are going to switch up our nutrition completely. In this phase, what you want to do is you want to take your fats anywhere between 65 to 70% of your overall calorific intake. You're going to keep your protein exactly the same, and you're going to bring your carbs down to 5 to 10%. Now what this does is this switches your body physiology, and it allows you to burn fat as fuel opposed to glycogen, which is stored carbohydrates. What that actually means for you is you're going to have more energy, less hunger, less cravings, more motivation, and burn more fat than ever before. Now this phase is a big transition, so this is why we only do it for 4 weeks. And after this phase, we can now beat the plateau, beat the energy slumps, and move into our next phase, which is called rebuild. This is another 4-week phase. In this phase, we're going to incorporate what's called a reverse diet. So we are going to slowly but surely add calories in week after week, around about 200 calories every single week. And we will be adding these in through carbohydrates so that we get our carbs back up to where they were in the other phases. In this time as well, we are going to reduce our output as well. So we are going to drop our sets down. If we were doing 3 sets, we're going to go to 2 sets. If we were doing 30 minutes of cardio, we're going to go to 25 minutes of cardio and reduce that by 5 minutes every single session, every single week, until your cardio becomes 0 by the end of this phase. So what this is going to do is it is going to completely restore your metabolism. On top of that as well, what it's going to do is give your body a complete rest and reset, setting you up for the next phase. So success in this program, you will still be lighter than what you finished the accelerate phase, but by the last week, we should be on maintenance calories. Let's say we finished at 1200 calories on our diet, we should now be up at 2000 calories. If we started at 45 minutes cardio in that phase, we should now be down at 0 cardio, and this then sets us up for our next phase. This is the phase at the start of the video that most people just jump straight into. I call it transform, and it's 12 weeks long. Now in this phase, what we should be doing is putting in a lot more progression to our training program. So if we were doing the 3 days per week, we're now doing 4 or 5 days per week. You know, most people come into their transformational journey and they start off with 5 days a week training when they were doing nothing before. This is where we've got something to really build with now. We're going to change up how we structure our training, and we're going to focus on target areas. Now that we've lost a certain amount of body fat in the beginning, we can now start focusing on certain areas of our body in a little bit more depth. At this point in our journey as well, we can now have a baseline of cardio that we want to put in. We can take our steps up to 10,000 and above and push ourselves that little bit harder. So in this phase, we are fully focusing on that transformation, but using everything that we used in the momentum phase to now push forward. So making the weekly changes based off how your progress is. But the good thing is now is we've got a core understanding of how we should be training, the things we should be doing, and we're not just jumping into this transformation phase without the backbones of it. By the end of this phase, for most people, you will see a complete transformation in your body. You should see your body fat being lower than it's ever been before, and you should see some unbelievable results. And that's what takes us into the last phase to make sure that we completely solidify our results. And we call this Ascend. Now, the Ascend phase is 4 weeks long as well. I would expect by the end of the transformation phase, bearing in mind now we're 32 weeks into our journey, you should be pretty happy with how you look, and it's probably somewhere that you want to maintain. Now, from this point, what we have to do, regardless, even if you've got more body fat to lose or you want to go in and build muscle, we have to ascend first, which is incorporating our second reverse diet and resetting ourselves for the next phase and beyond. Now, what we want to do here is, again, the exact same as a rebuild, slowly build the calories up to maintenance, reduce the activity down, and this will set you up for your next phase, which I call evolve, where you can go into more fat loss if you've got more body fat to lose. You can maintain these results for a lifetime, or you can go into a muscle growth phase. It is completely up to you and what your body depends on at that point. But then 9 months is going to completely transform you. And that is exactly why I call it the rebirth method, because it takes 9 months to create a human being, but it also takes 9 months to be reborn. So now you understand the phases, I just want to show you a real life example of someone that this worked with. This is Christian, and he came to me when he was 48 years old and said, I don't want to be fat at 50. So we put him on the program. He understood from the get-go that this was not going to be a quick fix. When he's 48, he's been through it all. He's lost weight, gained it back, done all the different training programs throughout the years, but he understood he had to do something that would last. And throughout that time, we went through all the phases that we've discussed in this video, and you can see his transformation is completely unbelievable. And he's unrecognizable, not just in his physique, but in his confidence, his energy. He's a completely different person. What happened when Christian finished the 9 months is we moved into the evolve stage, where we've done fat loss, reverse diet, we've done a muscle gaining phase, and then he looked absolutely incredible on his 50th birthday, and he will just continue to work through that throughout the rest of his life. The story with Christian's actually that amazing, because not only has he now transformed his body, I have now graduated him as one of my coaches within my Attune You business, and he is thriving. He knows the system inside out. He's like a new person and now has a new career path as well. So this system does work, but it only works for people that understand that this is a long game. The reason that you're still the same as you are 5 years ago is because you've been looking for these quick fixes all the time. So you've actually lost 5 years rather than just doing it right the first time. Yes, it might seem longer in the front end, but it's actually not. It's going to save you loads of time, and you're never going to have to go on a diet ever again. So that was a lot of information, but hopefully you found it really useful. And on top of that, you can probably see why you've not managed to lose the weight and keep it off all these years. Now, I don't want you to come away from this and be like, right, I've got 9 months and trying to take all this information in and make it work. You just have to start with the first 30 days. That's it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down in my next video how to get started from the get-go. So make sure that you check that out. Also, if you enjoyed this video as well, make sure you subscribe, because I post video daily on how to lose weight and keep it off. See you next time.